Hey there, geeks. Now, I know that I've given DC Comics a hard time over the last few years, what with them ruining everything through the New 52, but for a long time I was a huge DC fan. Today, I'll be looking at those DC Comics stories that impacted me the most. For the most part, I will be looking at specific storylines within the comics, though in a few cases, I'll be looking at a series overall, as that series weaves a single continuous story. And needless to say, there are spoilers ahead. So, without further ado, this is Baka's top 5 DC comic stories of all time. Number 5, Gotham Central. Gotham City has always had a dark underbelly that is always pushing against the surface. From everyday criminals to the psychotic supervillains of Batman's rogues gallery, crime is an all too common occurrence. More often than not, it falls to the GCPD, and primarily Commissioner Gordon's Special Crimes Unit, to bring these criminals to justice. Gotham Central focuses on detectives Crispus Allen, Renee Montoya, and Captain Maggie Sawyer as they deal with the insanity in the city around them. Taking a very film noir approach to superhero comics, Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker create a world that had much more of a grounded, real-life feel than most of the book's contemporaries. Gotham Central dealt with death, revenge, sexual orientation, and was a key component to some of the much larger stories in the DC universe. Number 4, Batman: The Long Halloween. One of the gems in 90s comics, The Long Halloween is one of those Batman stories that fans keep coming back to. Created by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, this miniseries looks at the underworld of Gotham City as the Dark Knight, both as Batman and as Bruce Wayne, must deal with mob boss Carmine Falcone. It doesn't help that at every holiday throughout the year, someone is murdering key players in the Falcone family. Having a similar tone as Gotham Central, The Long Halloween is one part mafia story, one part whodunit, where the reader is left twisting for clues until the very end. For those fans of the Dark Knight trilogy, many of the characterizations and relationships came directly from this story. Number 3, The Death of Superman. I would be remiss in a countdown of DC comic stories if I didn't mention the biggest story of the 1990s. Having one of the greatest impacts on DC Comics for years after, The Death of Superman answered an age-old question. Can Superman die? The answer? Yes. Or no. It's confusing. Created by the 90s powerhouse team of Dan Jurgens and Brett Breeding, along with parts written by Walt and Louise Simonson, to name a few, Superman finally meets his equal physically in the form of the Kryptonian killing machine Doomsday. After arriving on Earth, Doomsday makes his way across the United States, taking out everyone who gets in his way, including the entire Justice League, as he heads for Metropolis. It isn't until Doomsday is almost to the city that Superman finally steps in. What occurs is a long, brutal fight that sees both combatants dead in the end. This story not only gave us characters such as Doomsday, but it paved the way for others such as Superboy, Steel, and the cyborg Superman. It was also the first step in Hal Jordan becoming Parallax, and for other prominent heroes, such as Hal Jordan himself, Oliver Queen, and Barry Allen to return from the dead years later. It has also been blamed for being the capstone that allowed Infinite Crisis to happen. Number 2, Kingdom Come. What happens when the Joker kills Lois Lane and a ruthless hero named Magog ends the Clown Prince of Crime's reign of terror? In Mark Waid and Alex Ross's modern classic Kingdom Come, this question is answered. Superman retreats into isolation, Wonder Woman returns to Paradise Island, and Batman puts Gotham City under martial law, leaving a new generation without the examples they need to become true heroes. In this alternate future of the DC Universe, we are greeted by an enormous population of superpowered adolescents who don't seem to care who gets caught in the crossfire. When the DC Trinity finally return, however, it is not without problems. Lex Luthor and the top villains have brainwashed Captain Marvel and an all-out war ensues, with heroes fighting heroes and characters asking themselves why they do what they do. This story is beautifully painted by Ross, and Wade creates a deep and heart-wrenching story. Normally, an Elseworlds story like this wouldn't have a huge impact on the greater DC universe, but its popularity demanded that certain items from the story be brought into the DC universe proper. Magog and the Superman of this universe make an appearance in JSA, Wally West's daughter Iris is shown to be his successor, and the relationship between Superman and Wonder Woman is currently being explored. These are just a few of the lasting changes that Kingdom Come has made to the DC universe, and heck, it's just a beautifully painted masterpiece. Number 1. Crisis on Infinite Earths. Was there really any doubt? This is the Crisis. This is the story that changed everything, yet still allowed the DC universe to continue without having to reboot the system. 52. When a being known as the Anti-Monitor begins wiping out the multiverse, heroes from different dimensions must band together in order to defeat him. Not only did this story bring together all of these different universes into one cohesive reality, it did so without changing the core ideas behind these stories. Bringing in the JSA from Earth 2 and having them still be the heroes of World War II allowed for the DC universe to have a richer history. Winnowing out certain characters so as not to have redundancies allowed stories to progress smoothly. And making it so that most of the characters didn't even know there had once been a multiverse made everything fit together nicely. Not to mention, this was one of the last stories where a hero's death was truly meaningful, with both the Flash and Supergirl sacrificing themselves in the fight. Deaths that would last and be felt for decades. And while DC did try to recapture the magic through stories such as Infinite and Final Crisis, there will never again be such a story as Crisis on Infinite Earths. So there you have it, geeks. These are my top 5 DC comic stories of all time. What are yours? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, you could do the whole like, subscribe, and share thing. Until next time, this is Baka telling you to keep it geeky.